me a good Demoman? I don't know what makes me a good Demoman.
Demoman is a unique combat class. His mid-range spam-heavy playstyle is unlike many other shooters out there, meaning if a new player were to pick him up, they'd likely end up dying over and over and over again due to them not understanding how to play him well. So, where are new players likely to gravitate towards when they don't understand something? That's right, the tutorial! Shush, get out of here. And with that genius segue out of the way, let's dive straight into the Demoman tutorial in Team Fortress 2. This video will be split into two parts. First, I'll go over the Demoman tutorial and note any issues I have with it. Then, I'll go over it a second time, adding my own improvement suggestions into the mix. Of course, I'm unhappy with the tutorial system as a whole, so optimally I'd like to remake the whole thing, but I'll be saving that for another video. My improvements will be restricted to the existing system, so keeping the TR training map, text boxes, and linear system. Now, without further ado, let's dive in. First off, where do you find the tutorial? Well, it's under Find a Game, Training, then Basic Training. Here you'll see the Demoman tutorial, as well as the tutorials for the Soldier, Spy, and Engineer. You'll have to have completed the Soldier tutorial first to unlock the Demoman tutorial. Selecting the tutorial, you'll be greeted with an information panel, including a short description of the class, which mentions how Demoman is an explodey boy, can lay down sticky traps, and take down sentry positions. You also get an overview of his stock weapon loadout, which consists of the grenade launcher, his sticky bomb launcher, and the bottle. Loading into the tutorial, you're shown a video, which honestly doesn't say that much. The first slide mentions that this is less a tutorial and more a target practice. Honestly, this slide doesn't give you a good first impression, as people most likely would have clicked on this thinking it's a fully fledged tutorial instead of just a target practice. The second slide mentions you'll have to use the weapon they want you to. This is entirely unnecessary, as the tutorial will instruct you and even force you to use the weapon they want, not allowing you to progress unless you do as you're told. My guess is they used this slide to pad out the video's runtime, as they showed the Demoman firing his grenade launcher at some targets. The third slide is fine, mentioning how multiple stickies can be fired and detonated at the same time. The video also shows this at the same time by shooting an excessive amount of stickies on a single poor medic target. The fourth and final slide mentions how Demoman's projectiles arc, and you'll have to aim up to arc them further. The video is rather slow, showing Demoman staring up at the sky for a bit before firing. The video then cuts to a clip of the grenade arcing through the sky, and then destroying a target behind the payload cart. I like that it shows off the arcing of grenades, but the camera angles are a bit lacking. Unless you're paying close attention, you're unlikely to notice that the grenade is hitting someone behind an obstacle. A wider angle shot would have been a lot nicer here. Overall, this video is not very informative, outside mentioning the basic functionality of the sticky bomb launcher and that Demo's projectiles travel in an arc. What a waste of a 40-second video. Well, we're back in TR training, trapped in this tiny box again as usual. The text box introduces Demoman and his weapons again, which honestly I'm okay with, considering not everyone would likely read the intro panel, but still, forcing someone who did read this part, reread it, and then have to wait for the next text box to pop up is a waste of time. This is only a few seconds, but if you tally up the amount of wasted time, it'll slowly add up. Actually, good idea, let's try that. So, we got 3 seconds for this text box and around 14 seconds for the first 2 slides of the intro video. Next up, you're instructed to pull out your grenade launcher, and told to shoot at some targets which will pop up. It's good that the text box mentions that grenades only explode on impact if they don't bounce on the ground first, as that'll be a pretty big detail for when you do play Demoman. I'm not sure if this is intended or not, but as you can see here, 2 targets get destroyed by a single blast. This is a good way to show, not tell, a player on how the grenade's blast radius works. No words needed, the player will figure this out on their own. Once you're done shooting, which honestly doesn't achieve all that much, besides the part with the blast radius kill, you're instructed to lob your grenades over an obstacle to hit a target hiding behind it. In the footage, I get rather lucky and hit a direct, but I can expect newer players taking some time here to experiment on how high one has to aim to get the grenade to arc properly. Now it's time to move on to the sticky bomb launcher. You learn that you can place multiple at once and detonate them with alt fire, and that each sticky has an arm time. And we're back to shooting targets. Honestly, Just having the player shoot at targets doesn't really give them a good feel for the weapon. Possibly the arm time, but besides that, nothing else. After 4 rounds of targets, you're meant to destroy 5 targets at once by placing 5 sticky bombs. Here, you're also informed that you have a maximum of 8 stickies deployable at once. If you try to destroy the targets one at a time, they'll just pop up again, so this is a hard block to ensure that you know how to set traps. I wonder why they segregated the normal portion from the sticky tap portion. This was some wasted time as well. I mean, I like the concept with how they decide to teach you to deploy multiple stickies at once and all, but this isn't a really good way to show how to lay down traps. Players don't stand still, and usually you wouldn't place stickies on the floor as a trap. Mostly you'd want to obscure your stickies around corners and on walls to ensure you get the kill. And finally, you're taught how to charge up your stickies and fire them at a longer range. My biggest complaint with this portion is that a newer player would likely charge up to max before firing, and if they miss, like I do in this clip, it will be quite a bit of wasted time. And with that, we're done with the Demoman tutorial. Not much has been taught, and it feels a bit like a repeat of the Soldier tutorial, where you're just doing a glorified target practice if anything. Before I move on to the next part, let's tally up the amount of wasted time. 40 seconds might not seem like much, but compared to my playthrough of the tutorial, which took a little over 2 minutes, that's a grand total of 31% of this tutorial's worth of wasted time. That's a whole lot if you ask me. You might argue that, hey, it's a short tutorial, who cares, but let me say this. Anytime the tutorial gets boring, you're likely gonna lose some players, and that just results in more clueless people joining public games and getting stomped. And when they do, they're more likely to just put down the game and stop playing, resulting in a lower player base altogether. Also, we could just take that wasted time and use it for some more productive or interactive demonstrations. Either way, this video is meant to get people to think and discuss, and it's not gospel. If you claim that this video is the ultimate tutorial overhaul suggestion, I'd recommend you go and rethink your life choices as to how you came to this conclusion. Nah, but seriously, I'd be happy to discuss anything with you guys if you drop a comment down below. As I mentioned earlier, this part will attempt to improve on the existing tutorial given the restraints of the current system. Alright, let's start. As usual, the intro panel is alright, with the description being something I actually don't think is necessary to change, although it would be nice if we had the added bonus of info panel pop-ups if you moused over the weapons. I'm not sure if this is possible, but I think it's worth mentioning anyways. Moving on to the introductory video. In the original version, only 2 of the 4 scenes were actually necessary, so we've got quite a bit to replace. Of course, like my previous videos on the tutorial, my version of the intro will take place on Upward. Man, this map sure has something for all classes, doesn't it? First off, I'd like to show that Demoman's projectiles arc, and possibly show off his mid-range spammy playstyle at the same time. Next up, I'd like to show off how Demo counters sentries by having him spam out a sentry from an odd angle. Then, I'd like to show off how Demo can lay down sticky traps not by using a poor medic target, but by using a player in a semi-realistic use case. Here, he'll place a sticky trap around a corner, killing an unsuspecting enemy walking out. Then, I'd like to show off Demo's ability to charge his stickies, by showing him shooting an enemy at long range. And finally, I'd like to show off Demo's secondary abilities by knocking back Ubers with his sticky bomb launcher, by having an Uber pair walk over his trap and detonating it, sending them flying into the stratosphere. I'd say, for an introductory video, this gives a good overview of Demo's potential, whilst keeping it simple. Let's move on to when the player spawns into the training map. I'll leave the first 3 text boxes be, as they seem fine to me. What I would like to change about this section, however, is to merge the hidden player shot. So instead of having someone hidden behind the payload in a separate section, I just have them spawn in as a potential target at random. Another alternative would be to spawn moving players instead of targets, as that teach players to lead their shots and aim higher to shoot at the bots who spawn or move further away. Players aren't stupid, but just in case if they were, you could detect that, possibly with a timer on the furthest target, which would trigger a text box informing the player to aim upward as a failsafe. It could also teach the value of rollers, as no player is perfect and no one would have 100% accuracy on this portion. If they inevitably miss, the rollers would still explode, showing how they could knock around players even if it wasn't a direct hit. Of course, this gives the opportunity to have bots clump together, and when he lands a shot on an enemy, the blast damage will injure nearby players. I'd also like to have a bot come straight up, point blank in the Demo's face, to which he shoots and causes self-damage, showing how close-range battles is not a very good idea. Next up, the Sticky Bomb Launcher. I like to shorten the target practice bit and add something else in its stead. Instead of having individual targets pop up, I'd immediately start with the 5 targets or 5 bots. If the demo kills them one at a time, then they'll just respawn and you're informed to kill them all at once. However, if the demo does that on his first try, they won't respawn and we move on to the next section. Then we can move on to the charge shot. I know I complained about it a while back, but I couldn't really think of a way to make this section any shorter besides making the charge quicker, similar to the Quickie Bomb Launcher. So yeah, I'd probably keep this section where you charge the shot at a far away target. Let me know in the comments down below how you would change this section. And time for my new additions. Besides target practice, you still gotta teach the demo that he can sticky trap. My recommendation is to lower the barrier and inform him that a bot will come out of this doorway to attack him, and the player would have to use their common sense to place down a sticky trap, then engage in the enemy. The player is free to trap wherever he wants, and once the bot spawns, it'll pathfind its way to the player, giving him more flexibility in looking for places to trap and to lead the bot into one. The bot will be a pyro and can only be killed by stickies. If the player tries to shoot grenades at it, the pyro will just reflect it back at him, showing off how Demo's projectiles can be countered. Another option is if the player sets down sticky traps on the ground, the pyro bot would stop and shoot at the stickies, disarming them, showing how hit scan weapons can actually destroy your sticky bombs. Finally, I'd like to have the demo duel a heavy one-on-one. The heavy will approach the player, who is behind a wall, and you're instructed to peek, fire, and retreat, showing how one can use corners to their advantage on Demoman. Maybe if the demo fires stickies, the heavy can also destroy them, showing how stickies can get destroyed by the hit scan. Another alternative is for a sentry to be behind a corner, and you need to find out how to destroy it. The player is free to lob his grenades over the wall, or to peek the sentry. An engineer will try to shoot the stickies, so the player has to be quick at detonating them. This shows Demo's power against sentries and especially turtles. And there we go! The demo doesn't have too many unique mechanics that need explaining compared to Spy and Engineer, just a lot of practice is necessary. This tutorial should hopefully arm the player with the relevant knowledge about his abilities and quirks, which one has to play around to make use of the full power of the Demoman. Now before you go and comment down below on what I missed, I just want to quickly add something. For the intro video, I had considered adding sticky jumping into the mix, but thought it would be a little bit much for a beginner's tutorial. Sticky jumping itself is a lot easier than rocket jumping, but might still be considered an advanced movement tech to pull off, especially when doing mid-air jumps with a second sticky. Besides that, however, I couldn't think of anything else I had missed. If I did, do let me know in the comments below. I appreciate people like Ash, who had brought up a lot of good points I had missed in my previous Spy video, and I really appreciate anyone who gives me feedback on how to improve. Either way, I'll get to work on the next and final installment of the series, A Certain Rocket-Loving American. Until then, see ya!